Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mang. Welcome back to Hanging with Mang. This might actually be the 600th episode. uh, no, no, that's next week. I think we're okay. I didn't want to record my 600th episode. That would be a little lame. But I am recording this one because last night we did Two Brothers Play. We started streaming and immediately it just shit the bed. Again. So we just recorded it. I'm still in the process of uploading that video because it was like 5 hours long. It's 13 gigs and blah, 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 blah. And so I don't want to, I don't even want to bother trying to stream Hanging with May. I'll just record it and upload it as well. Yeah, so, I mentioned before that I had issues with streaming and it was really intermittent. Like, I didn't really have any trouble with download speeds or anything like that. And there were times that I could stream completely normally, but then other times it just was non-existent. And, I talked to Spectrum. They said the signal coming into my house was definitely weak. They sent out a technician. He replaced the whole cable coming into my house, which now they have to come back and bury, and who knows when they'll do that. So I have a big cable running across my lawn. Then it turns out that it still wasn't fixed because we tried to stream, our RPG session the other week, and that shit the bed with the same errors. So I talked to Spectrum again during the session. They sent out a technician like half an hour later. He looked at a few things and then concluded that no, it has nothing to do with the cable coming into my house. It's probably the node, like the local node or whatever that distributes internet. I don't know. I don't know what a node is, but he knew what a node was. And so he's like, yeah, so I'll put in a work order, they'll get it fixed, and it could be 48 hours, it could be a week. It depends on how backed up they are. And that was about a week and a half ago, and obviously still not fixed. The stream shit the bed last night with the same errors and everything. I didn't bother contacting them because it's like, I assume the work order is in, so I assume they're just backed up because we had a really nasty storm, a few weeks ago, and I assume a lot of shit got fucked up, so it just is what it is. Anyways, luckily, I don't depend on streaming for a living. I depend on uploading, and that's at least still doable. I mean, it's probably slow a lot of the times compared to normal, but I'm not picky. Anyways, this week on this channel, we have Dominions. Of course, doesn't really even need to be said, but there it is. Resident Evil Requiem, which I don't think I'll finish this week, but we're pretty close. We're not that far off. I haven't quite finished it myself. I haven't recorded it all, but I know there's just like a handful of videos left, so probably the following week we should be good with that. And we have Enderall, which is just about done. I think there's one video left of Enderall. After that, honestly, I'm probably gonna upload Rimworld. I have a bunch of Rimworld, Odyssey. I don't want it to be like 3 years down the line where I'm finally like, oh yeah, I recorded that Odyssey playthrough. And there's already another DLC out or something. So I'm just going to do Rimworld. We'll get it done. It's all recorded and everything, so that's fine. And I've been playing a lot of fucking Rimworld. I haven't recorded much. There's not that many videos, but I've been playing a lot of Rimworld. This colony is 16 years in now. Basically living in opulence without a care in the world. Yeah, and that's that. After Resident Evil, then, we'll see. I have multiple things I could upload. I have a lot of Doom to upload. I have a lot of solo RPG stuff to upload. The solo RPG stuff does tend to get some comments. So I kind of lean towards uploading more of that, because I like when people comment. Makes me feel good about myself. Sometimes. Not all the time, I guess. But yeah, you know. But yeah, I did record a lot of Doom, so we have to get to that at some point. Anyways, that's pretty much that. And on Two Brothers, we've been playing some Rimworld, but I imagine that's probably done now. Just because I've been playing so much Rimworld, I'm kind of ready to move on. Over on the Exploring series, we had subterranean SCPs, I think. No, yes? God, it's an eternity ago. Literal eternity ago. It was Yasod, that's right. Yeah, that did okay. Can't complain too much. That wasn't really the highlight of the week, though. The highlight of the week was April 1st. And I finally released the putt-putt video. You know, it didn't immediately blow up and go viral or anything, but that takes some time. You know, usually for a smaller channel such as mine. Usually it just gets picked up by the algorithm randomly a few months later or something, if it does ever. So we'll see if that ever happens. I would hope so. I figure Putt-Putt has some broader appeal. There's been a lot of comments on it. We're like, oh man, this was really nostalgic. This brought a lot back to me, blah, blah, blah. I know a lot of people in my life that have played Putt-Putt or played Putt-Putt when they were younger and stuff like that and kind of remember it fondly and stuff. So I'm hoping this sort of leans into it. I didn't do it necessarily for the views. I did it because I just had an idea and I wanted to rant about Outback Al. But it would be nice if it got picked up by the old algorithm. So far, you know, it's done okay. It's about 45,000 views, which for an April Fool's video is not bad. The comments have overall been pretty darn positive. There's been a lot of comments wanting me to do a lot more stuff like that, where I basically, like, very rigorously analyze something that was not meant to be analyzed whatsoever. Like other cartoon programs or products, media, you know, things like that, or other things for children or for a very casual audience or something like that. The thing is, it's a fuck ton of work. Like, there's really a lot of research that goes into it, and I put that sort of in quotation marks, because in this case the research was pretty much just me playing through all the Putt-Putt games, but that's on the short end. I mean, if you think about, if I wanted to apply that same rigor to analyzing, I don't know, the Powerpuff Girls, for example, just to throw something out there, I'd have to watch every episode of the Powerpuff Girls, and I don't even know how long that is. Because I think wasn't there a remake or something? Okay, yeah, so it's 6 seasons, 78 episodes. Yeah. I mean, I'd have to watch 78 episodes at the minimum. I mean, there might be other, like, specials or movies. There was a reboot series in 2016. There's video game. I mean, it's like a whole universe of stuff. Powerpuff Girls Z. Like, I feel like I'd have to watch that then if I wanted to analyze all this very closely. Because when you're doing it to this degree, when you're being this autistic about it, you know, and I'm trying to analyze every aspect of it and the realism and the oddities of it and all that, you can't not watch it all. You can't not consume everything related to it, because then there will be people watching that have consumed it to that degree. Or even there will be people that just consumed different parts of it then that you didn't. Like, say I cherry pick and I watch 45 of the episodes, which is still a lot. There's going to be people that maybe didn't watch all 78, or maybe they did, or maybe they just watched a different, like, 37 episodes, or a different set or something. They notice something in there, and I say something that's just wrong because they know that they watched something else, another episode that just contradicts that or explains it or something like that. Like, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. If you want to do it right, you have to consume everything. And that's just a lot of work. And maybe a lot of people wouldn't call it work. But I think if you watched my Mangg Plays Putt-Putt videos, if you watched those, the sort of research portion of this, I think you saw the sort of effort that goes into it. Like, I wasn't just sitting there casually and playing through the putt-putt games. I was trying to actually do, like, my research. I was trying to think about it in an analytical way. And sure, it's all kind of jokey, but I didn't, like, I didn't try to just, like, brush things off. There was mental activity related to this, for better or for worse. And so I would have to sit down and watch all 78 episodes of the Powerpuff Girls at a minimum, and actually watch them and think about them and try to analyze them. And that's just a lot of work. And I think that if I were the type of channel that would do something like that, I'm not saying that it couldn't be a good idea, couldn't be successful or anything like that. Autism is is very popular right now. I'm not saying that I couldn't do it or that it wouldn't be popular necessarily, but it would not be a fucking weekly thing. I don't even know. It might be once a month. And that would be the channel. You know, I'd be one of those channels that uploads once every month or once every month and a half, or even less maybe, depending. And there are channels that do that, and they're successful. They're big. I mean, look at how often, like Ahoy. Ahoy uploads like 4 times a year or something like that. And he's probably my favorite YouTube channel. I don't know how lucrative that is. I don't know how successful he is. I don't know if he's living in some mansion somewhere in the UK or whatever. I have no idea. But YouTube tends to prefer weekly stuff. And I usually like to refer to Ahoy as your favorite YouTuber's favorite YouTuber. I have no idea if that's really accurate, but if your favorite YouTuber is the Exploring series, then it's accurate. Because I don't know how often he really gets discussed compared to, like, the big weekly big uploaders or anything. But anyways, yeah, I mean, you know, if YouTube, no, if SCPs just died off and it was just like, Mangg, we love you, but you got to move on. SCP is so old. It's just not interesting to anyone anymore. I can't really envision that happening, just due to how varied the SCP universe is. But if it came to that, and it was like, okay, I have to pivot. I have to do something different on my channel that's not SCP related. That could be an angle. This is kind of much more freeform of just like, I feel like analyzing the shit out of this franchise and I'm going to spend a month and a half or whatever working on it. And then I just sit around for many days, for just weeks at a time. Just like, no, don't bother me. I'm working, I'm watching Powerpuff Girls very seriously. The thing, you know, I like the weekly schedule that I have because it's very regimented. Like I have just strict schedules that, you know, I work every day, blah blah blah, and I work from this time to this time, and it's like blah blah blah. And when you stretch it out to a month or every month or something like that, and a lot of your time is going to be spent just watching or playing something related to this upcoming video, it's like it gets a lot looser. The putt-putt thing was just like, okay, I feel like playing putt-putt travels through time. Like, I'm ready to play that and record it and analyze it. But that was like, okay, it's been 5 days, I probably should do that. There was no real regimented schedule because I gave myself 2 months to work on it. And if that was my whole career, I feel like things could kind of fall apart, and it's like, oh fuck, I need to finish this video on Paw Patrol. I need to finish this next week. But I guess that's the thing, and that's the thing with these types of channels, is that they don't have that kind of schedule. And it's just like, if this video takes a month and a half, if this takes 2 months, 2.5 months, whatever, so be it. That's what it takes. No one's waiting for the upcoming Monday for it to finish. The trickier thing with that, I feel, is like a Patreon, because it's just like, with a Patreon, you sign up to my Patreon, you know that every Friday, more or less, I mean, sometimes I slip a little into Saturdays, rarely, but pretty much every Friday night, you can expect the new video early. You know, very regimented. If I'm finishing a video every 2 months, or whatever, a month, 2 months, like, yeah, I don't know. Here's another update. I'm working on it. I watched episode 56 of Powerpuff Girls today. Don't worry, I'm getting through it. You know, it'd be one thing, I guess, like, if it's a game, I could record it all. And I could do, like, just Mangg's LP's stuff, and I could just upload that to Patreon. Like, here, you can, and I could stream it, and it could be this. And game's a lot easier. If I'm doing a show or a book or something, then it gets a lot trickier of how to do updates. This is all so far-flung of just, like, practically never gonna happen, just due to SCP continuing to be interesting and successful enough. But yeah, that could be an interesting pivot compared to my previous pivot of just like, well, I guess I'll go back to Warhammer 40k. Because the thing that was tricky about doing Warhammer 40k is weekly videos. There's so much to consume. I'd basically have to take like a year hiatus and do nothing but just like read Warhammer 40k books. Because talk about a community that's just like, that's read so much, that just knows so much. For me to get to that degree of knowledge, I mean, these people have been reading and being invested into Warhammer 40k for decades at this point. And that was just a really tough, nerve-wracking thing when I was making those videos. Of just like, I've read a handful of 40k books and a lot of wiki articles. I don't really feel qualified to be an explainer of all this. Yeah, hard to say. I did enjoy, I mean, the putt-putt video. It was an enjoyable process. I mean, like I said, part of it was not having like a strict schedule. I took it in my own time, and I gave myself plenty of time to make it. And sitting down and writing the script, and it was just like, I wasn't at all just copying someone else's words. You know, that's generally what I do for SCP stuff. It's a lot of just paraphrasing, summarizing. These other type of videos that I do is really my own thoughts on paper as a writer, which is not something I get to do often, but it's enjoyable sometimes. And obviously people like it enough. You know, the people that do click on these videos. And I saw some comment that was like, "Oh, you know, you could start another channel, second channel, where you just do videos like this." And it's like, no, just no. The second channel that I have to build from the ground up and get partnership and all that sort of stuff, and try to get viewership specifically to that, and then I have to work on those videos alongside SCP. And it's one thing to do it once a year, maybe for April Fools, that I work 2 months ahead of time, but to just consistently have some other channel that I'm like, oh yeah, I should upload on that. It's a recipe for just disappointment, I think. I'm really, at this point, I'm kind of all or nothing on one thing. I don't want to do the thing where I did with 40K, where I just alternated every time. It was just too much for my little brain to handle. But yeah, hopefully the putt video continues to do well, picks up to a more general audience. You know, tell your friends. Anybody you know that's played putt might have some nostalgic entertainment value for them. Yeah. But now back to normal SCP stuff. And we have Uncontained SCPs coming out tomorrow, in which I reference Secret of Evermore, Mr. Beast, Vertical Limit, and Discord Kittens, all in one video. I really went ham. It might be my most joke-filled video I've ever done. I don't know why. It was just maybe it was April 1st. It was just like in a jokey mood all week. I would like to do probably at some point in the near future. There is no anti-memetics division, and just cover the whole thing in one big string of videos. But I'll have to really sit down and think about how that would be done before I announce any plans. And also, in a near upcoming week, a few weeks, I want to do space SCPs. And I specifically am picking which week it's going to be because I would like to do an ads read. I'd like to do a promotion, a sponsorship for The Expanse, Owlcat's upcoming third-person action RPG. And, you know, Owlcat had reached out to me a long while back now when I just was starting to do 40K stuff, because apparently there's someone that's a fan on the staff there, and they thought it would be perfect if I did some promotional stuff for their, you know, Rogue Trader game. And I was super hyped at the time, because it's like, holy shit, this is Owlcat Games. This is like, they reached out to me. They made Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous one of my favorite games of all time. This is fucking hype. And then it kind of went nowhere. I mean, they sent me beta keys. They gave me full release keys. They sent me, like, yeah, I think they also gave me a beta key. They gave Lego a beta key, because I asked for one, so we could play co-op. Then I think they gave me a bunch of beta keys to give away on Twitter or something like that. Then I think they gave me the full release of Rogue Trader. Keep it in mind, I did nothing for them. Then they also gave me a beta key for Dark Heresy, which I played to like 20 minutes of on my own. And yeah, it just didn't go anywhere because I wasn't that big of a fan of Rogue Trader. I still have not gone back to it. It just did not click to me in the same way as Wrath of the Righteous and Kingmaker did. I don't know. I don't think it's the theme really. I think it was just the gameplay and the character building just did not grab me. I don't know. I might have to give it another try someday, but it just didn't grab me. So that hurt. And also that they were just very loose with what they wanted from me as like a sponsorship thing. Just, they said what am I thinking, whatever you're feeling, it's balls in your court, which I think on their end they think that that's really like nice of them, and just it's just this open sort of relationship and blah blah blah. What it's just just chat about it. And whatever you want to do is cool with us. And it's just like, no, please, I need guidance. Tell me what to do. So just kind of nothing happened, and they gave me oh, I think they offered me a beta key for the Rogue Trader DLC. Yeah, one of the staff messaged me, was like, "Oh, are you interested in a key for the DLC?" Blah blah. And I had to admit, like, yeah, I haven't actually finished Rogue Trader, so sorry. I think they were just kind of like checking in to see if I was like, because like I stopped doing 40K videos, I didn't do anything for them, and it's like, I don't know. I felt really bad because they gave me the Dark Heresy key as well, the beta. And it's like, okay, this is just not good. I'm just leeching off of Owlcat, and I don't like that because I think they're cool. So then the clouds parted, and they announced this Expanse game, and I was like, oh shit, okay, this could be cool. This could be an opportunity now for me to actually do something for them. So I messaged them, and I'm like, hey, I'd love an Expanse beta key. And I'd really be interested in doing like an ad read for you guys. And so they sent me back the key, of course, and they're like, okay, well, yeah, that sounds interesting. What are you thinking? And it's like, no, just tell me what you want. God damn it. And I'm like, well, I haven't really done many ads or anything, but I assume just like a minute long or so ad read early in a video, something like that. And they replied that unfortunately their budget for the beta phase has all been allocated, so they can't pay me. Probably because, yeah, this needed to be negotiated like a few months ago. Like I came out of this pretty late. I was just like, hey, give me a beta key. And also I've never done anything for them before, so they didn't immediately they didn't come to me like, hey, blah blah blah, would you like to do an ad read? So I have no qualms about that. And they were like, would you be interested in doing this on a barter system? They would be more than happy to continue to offer early access keys and full release keys for any of their upcoming titles, including, of course, The Expanse. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm in. Because, like, it's not really about the money. Like, I don't do ad reads almost at all. And if I really needed the money, I would. But I specifically don't. So I don't really do many ad reads. I was just doing this to kind of be nice, but I was like, I shouldn't just say I'll do it for free. Because that seems kind of wrong, right? It just seems weird-ish. Like, I don't have any stake in the company. Like, I don't know. It just seems weird to say I'll do it for free. So they offered me the perfect out there. I don't have to discuss financials, which I hate discussing. And I get like this awesome bragging rights of just like, yeah, I'm tight with Owlcat Games. I get all their shit for free. Yeah, okay, that's cool. I know some companies, gaming companies, things like that, they often send like their sponsored partners and stuff like cool goodie packages. That would be really sweet. If I just woke up one day and there was a package from Owlcat Games on my porch, that would be pretty boss. I don't expect that. That wasn't mentioned or anything, but because I assume that's part of their budget. Whereas keys are essentially free. I mean, I would have bought it, so they're losing a tiny bit of money, I guess. But yeah, it's I figured it was cool bragging rights. I get to help them out and all that, and I don't have to discuss financials. So you're like, okay, well, give the beta a try, and then get back to us if it seems like a good fit for you. And I was like, all right, sounds good. So I tried out the beta. I did record my time with it. I can't upload that until the embargo is lifted on the 22nd. But I can tell you, well, actually, I don't know what I can tell you, but I think it's okay. No one will bust me for this. It's really freaking cool. If you like Mass Effect, you're gonna want to check it out. It is very Mass Effect, but it's pretty awesome. Like the effects, the animations and everything of like the space explosions and the gunplay and all that, like it's really cool. I walked away suitably impressed. And I was really glad because I was like, if it's okay or something, like I'm still gonna do the ad read because I really want to support them and I'm sick of leeching off of them. But I'm glad that I walked away impressed and was like, yes, I can actually like recommend this to people. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So you'll be able to see it on the 22nd, and then I'll do Space SCPs, which I figure is a perfect tie-in for the Expanse sponsorship, to advertise the beta release. I have no idea. I don't think it's an open beta, but I don't even remember now, because I specifically didn't watch the press briefing because it was too early in the morning. Okay, yes, it's a closed beta to founders who purchase the Miller's Pack or Collector's Edition. Okay, yes, it's not that long. Again, I don't think that's a big spoiler. They say that it features a mission from early in the game, and that is correct. It's like an hour long, but it definitely gives you a taste of like a variety of the systems and dialogue and things like that. Okay, so okay, yeah, so it's a pretty closed beta. You have to get the Miller's Pack or the Collector's Edition. The Miller's Pack is $80, and the Collector's Edition is $290. Yeah, see, like, if they... Yeah. It would be cool... It would be cool if I got the Collector's Edition, if they sent me that. That would be really cool, but I don't expect that whatsoever, so it's fine. I don't know what exactly they'll give me. If I had to guess, they'll end up just giving me, like, the base game, the code for Steam or something, but it's fine. Like I said, it's more just bragging rights, so it's fine. So yeah, it's a pretty closed beta, which is why I don't even know, like, I don't even know how many like sponsored stuff they're really doing for it, but I mean they're having some sponsored stuff. Because that's what the whole press briefing was about. It was like, you know, the embargo and everything. I don't know. I have no idea. They didn't come to me to mention all this or, you know, ask about this. Like, it was just me saying, hey, I'll do an ad read for it. And that's probably why they're like, well, we're not paying for that. But I feel like advertisements, even for a closed beta, is not a bad idea, because if they can sell more collectors or Miller's Pack or whatever, you know. But it's a pretty closed beta. There'll probably, I don't even know. There might be a key giveaway. They might give me a handful of keys or something. I don't know. We'll see. But like I said, it was a cool beta. I'm definitely excited for the game, even though I don't know anything about the Expanse. It wasn't perfect. I'm not gonna say any more than that. You can watch my video when I talk about it and look at it and stuff. But anyways, so that was that. That was that. What else? Oh, RPGs. Yes, Wednesday we did Nimble. with Rise of the Rune Lords. So that was session 2. Technically, it was session 3 because we didn't stream or record session 2. Yeah, so session 2 was the first time we switched to Nimble. And that was when they tried to rescue Ameko. They fought off Suto, nearly died, and they left Ameko to die of dehydration in the basement. Not great. So this week, we streamed it. This was session 3, called session 2 to not confuse people. And we continued to use Nimble. Even though I had some misgivings about it because, they seem pretty clueless about tactics and strategy and blah, blah, blah. And I was utilizing someone else's conversion guide that they made to convert Rise of the Rune Lords to Nimble. And I was like, okay, all the work's done for me. I'm not going to give it too much thought. And they were in the Catacombs of Wrath, which is further underneath the city, because there's a Quasit down there that the villains are allying with, and the Quasit has been summoning up these sin spawn down underneath in the catacombs, and so they start going down there and start poking around, and they get into a fight right away with a couple sin spawn. It's just 2 of them, and it's a fairly easy fight, just a little rough them up a little bit. With Nimble, where you're kind of guaranteed to take damage for the most part. Unless you're very careful and doing a lot of defending and interposing, chances are you're going to take a little bit of damage. So doing a dungeon, especially doing a dungeon in one go, it's kind of this little war of attrition where you get slowly worn down and down and down until the end. And hopefully you have enough in the tank in order to beat the big boss at the end. And I think that is something that kind of 13th Age or Draw Steel does a little better, where it fucks with the sort of progression, the danger progression. 13th Age has the arc, which allows you to finish an arc actually right before a boss battle if you want, for this climactic, all right, we're locked in, let's do this, and they actually can go into a boss fight with full everything restored, so they can go all out. Which is pretty cool. Or Draw Steel, which actually does empower the characters somewhat based on how many battles they've done previously without taking a rest. So they actually do get stronger somewhat throughout the day, while they get weaker in other ways. Nimble, yeah, it's a bit more traditional. It's just hopefully you have enough saved up. Surprisingly, though, after that first battle with a couple sin spawn, they managed to navigate through the catacombs blindly, and they ended up at the boss room without getting into any other fights. So they went into the boss battle pretty much at full, ready to go. And the boss battle is this Quasit, which was a level 3 solo creature, along with 2 sin spawn. And so the grand majority of that session was that boss battle. And it wasn't a very long session, but that was most of it, was that boss battle. It did not go well. They really just did not grasp tactics and cooperation, teamwork, all that sort of stuff. They just didn't handle it too well. The Quasit goes after every one of their turns, and you really have to be defending and interposing a lot. And Lego is complaining about this. That it's if all we ever do is defend and interpose, then we don't get to do anything on our turn. It's well, no, you have 3 actions. Defending and interposing is 2 actions, leaving you 1 on your turn. And due to the way the disadvantage stacks up, you really only want to prime up for 1 big attack anyways, ideally with advantage on that attack. And there was a round where Lego, he was next to a target. He had all 3 actions. He unloaded everything he had. He had advantage on the roll. He had his judgment dice on the roll. And he did 1 big attack right away for 18 damage, which at that point is pretty significant. I mean, that's quite a lot. So 18 damage. Then he had 2 more actions, which he spent on 2 more attacks with scaling disadvantage. They both missed. And he was miffed. He was, I mean, of course, this is Lego we're talking about. So he was upset. He's like, what? This is ridiculous. But it's like, that's the whole point. If you had spent those 2 actions, instead of on attacking previously, on defending and interposing somebody to help save some damage, you would have accomplished the same amount of DPS on your turn. You still would have had that big 18 hit, and then that would have been it. And that's the tactics. That's the game, you know? You generally just want to prime for that one big attack. The cheat, which is like the thief character. They get to do a sneak attack once per turn, and they get to do their vicious opportunist once per turn, where they can automatically crit. So they can do 1 automatic crit per turn that also does extra sneak attack damage. That's the whole class. You know, at level 1 or 2, that's the whole class. Is get in, do your 1 big sneak attack crit, get out, and that's it. You know, and that's and to be fair, the player that was playing the cheat pretty much did that, you know, and that worked. But the thing is, like, that's a lot of the classes, is just priming for 1 big action on each turn, and then the rest is more control or defensive reactions or actions. So they didn't really have that much problem with damage, because the cheat did her thing. The Shadowmancer did his thing. His shadows were pretty nasty. They both roll a d12 for attacks, and he had 2 of them, and they were dealing out pretty good damage, because I was not wailing on them that much. So he was putting out pretty good damage. She was putting out pretty good damage. They just couldn't survive, because the commander kept running away, and you know, the Lego as the Oathsworn was not defending and interposing that much. So yeah, they just kind of got whittled down. They didn't have really any healing, because they don't have a shepherd. And so it was basically a TPK. The cheat did manage to survive by just running away at the end with like 1 wound left. She was like on death's door, but she did survive. But yeah, everyone else died, and it was just like, yeah, I think that's it. Halfway through the fight, I thought to myself, like, if they all die, this is over. This experiment is over. I do think Nimble is great. I think it's a really good 5e-like system if you're looking for tactical combat and all that. That's not like overly narrative or overly complicated as far as like character building, and you know, draw steel is very good as well, but it is quite unique. It does a lot of unique things, and I think Nimble, if you're used to 5e, it's going to be very familiar to a lot of people while still being just much better. So I really do like Nimble. I'm glad I went in on that recent Kickstarter and everything. It's really good, but once again, it's just not a good fit for this group. They just cannot think that tactically minded. Maybe in time, but it's just like, I don't have the patience to wait that long for them to sort this out, because this is a pretty early fight in the campaign. Like, it's only going to get harder from here. They're going to get more abilities. The enemies are going to get more abilities and get tougher and everything. Like, it's just going to get worse. So I just didn't have any faith in it, and I was like, fuck. I guess we'll just go back to Shadowdark. So we're going to go back to Shadowdark. However, we're not going back to Shadow Axe, my homebrew hybrid monstrosity. I'm going to run Shadowdark, and I'm going to run it as close to the book as I can manage. I really almost never want to look at my Axe book at all. I just want to run Shadowdark. I am, of course, going to be using some aspects from the Cursed Scroll supplements, and I'm going to be using some equipment and items from the Player's Companion by Chubby Funster. But other than that, I really want to run just fucking Shadowdark, because Shadowdark's really simple. These players like simple, for the most part. So having all my home rules, house rules that I like, that I think make more sense and are logical and make it easy to run when I'm playing solo and stuff like that, they don't need any of that. They need simple and just rulings and go, you know. They're not even the type of group that's going to like complain if I make 2 separate rulings at different times for the same situation, you know. Just as long as it's somewhat fair and balanced to them, or even imbalanced in their favor, they'll be happy and we can just keep going. So yes, I'm gonna run Shattered Arc quite simply. And I decided, you know, obviously I looked at a bunch of different options of what I wanted to run. I don't think a big, massive, open sandbox hex crawl is the way to go. I don't think putting them in a big open world and just saying, yeah, you know, ask around for rumors and just go. I don't think that's a great solution for this group either, even though that's what I would prefer as a player. I think something on the smaller scale, somewhat condensed, being a little bit open, but still with kind of a central goal is the way to go. It's going to be hard to top Evils of Ilmire. I did very strongly consider in the Shadow of Tower Silver Axe. I was pretty darn close to doing that. But I decided to go with the Shadowed Keep on the Borderlands, which I didn't do solo, and I don't think I'm going to look at solo, but it got a really, really scathing review from Bryce Lynch, in which it was called like devoid of life and devoid of color and stuff. That's okay. It's very, very, very bog standard vanilla kind of D&D. There's goblins, there's bandits, there's an old keep in the forest. You know, there's ghosts and a tomb. Like, it's very vanilla. So I can see why he complained about that, because obviously he wants something that really is unique and worthy of being purchased and written up and just makes him be surprised, and it's innovative. It's like, no, I need the most vanilla D&D possible, because they're perfectly okay with that, and anything that's too unique they're just gonna kind of brush off or bounce off of. So vanilla is great. So yeah, Shadowed Keep, it's pretty vanilla, but it's very lengthy. Despite that was his other complaint about it, was that, like, I have the most recent version, which is 153 pages. And that 153 pages, let's see here. 41 pages of that is devoted to the starting town of Dulwich. So it's just the town and its, you know, its people, the various major buildings and establishments, and, you know, little side quests and stuff. It's 41 pages of this adventure just for the town itself. But it's like, if you're gonna run a whole campaign and everything out of the campaign, like, having a very detailed base of operations is not a bad thing. Whereas if you're just sitting down, it's like, look, I just need a dungeon. It's like, that's not this. This is like a campaign starter kind of all in one. So I'm okay with it. Then there's the surrounding territory, which is like a little mini hex crawl kind of thing. There's one major side location called the Shunned Valley, which is designed like right out the gate. Level 1, they can go to the Shunned Valley, and there's like a handful of like little dungeon, like mini dungeons there, just a few things, and then like one slightly larger dungeon. So there's like 3 or 4 dungeons in there that are 5 rooms or something, and then there's one that's 12 rooms. So the Shunned Valley takes up about 20 pages or so. And then there's the Shadowed Keep itself, the major location, which is like 38 pages or something like that. Because it consists of 4 different levels of dungeon. There's the Watchtower at the top level, the Ruined Donjon at the top level. They're 2 separate locations. One's bandits, one's goblins. And then there's the Realm of the Blood Moon underneath. And then there's the Undercrypt underneath that. So it goes pretty deep. It's a lot of rooms. There's quite a lot to it. And I was like, holy shit, am I going to sit down and read 153 pages? That's a lot. I went to Claude. I went to AI. And, you know, AI, I don't like really AI when it comes to creative endeavors. I don't like AI when it comes to having, like, actually writing stuff or anything. But AI as an organizational tool is, like, unmatched. I like it's theoretically possible, I guess, if I spent enough time and useless effort, that I could organize this in the same way that it does. But it does it in like 3 minutes, and it's like, fuck, you know, why waste my time? So I worked with it to just create like a GM reference guide, an outline or whatever for Shadowed Keep on the Borderlands, specifically tuned to Shadow Dark with some specific Shadow Dark mechanics and stuff in there. And oh man, it's phenomenal. It's really phenomenal. It's like broken up into separate tabs. It looks pretty. It's got like different, colored font for different things, so it all pops out and is like usable. It's got like italics in certain locations. There's like hyperlinks. So like if I see a name referenced in one section, so I had it broken up into two things. One is a reference specifically for Dulwich, specifically for the town, breaking up all the NPCs, the major NPCs, breaking up all the key locations with an interactive map that I can click on, the different factions and how they interact with one another, all the different side quests and how you get them and what they lead to and stuff. Like, it's all broken up into different tabs. And so if I'm on a side quest and if I'm on the side quest tab and there's this one that talks about spies in the nearby forest, and that one is given out by Ossi Karpinen. So if I click on Ossi Karpinen, it takes me to his section in the NPC tab. So I can see his description, his stats, his personality, his goals, who he's connected to, like secret GM information that they could find out and stuff. Everything. And then I also had it like build carousing tables because I want to use the Shadow Dark carousing mechanics. But again, like I said, I don't want it to really write anything. So I found other carousing tables. Like I took them from like the GM's Companion for Shadow Dark, and I took some from like online sources. And I'm just like, look, organize this into different sections. So there's like 4 different carousing tables for just the base carousing option. But then I also have one for acts of devotion, if you want to do like clerical stuff, priestly religious work or things like that, combat training if you want to do like fighter stuff, magical study for mage stuff, and a thief's hustle table for doing thievery stuff. I did have it specifically modified to be like unique to Dulwich. So it actually mentions like specific locations in Dulwich or names from Dulwich of NPCs to really tie it in closely to the village itself. And it's like you could do that on the fly as a DM at the table, but I'm not that quick thinking or quick witted, so having this all prepared ahead of time is just really nice. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, AI is the enemy and all that, but goddamn, like the amount of time that it would take me to put all this together, and I don't know if I could really make it as pretty as this or as functional. Like, I don't know how to make separate tabs in an HTML file like this, that and various hyperlinks and this interactive map. Like, I don't know. So yeah, I have one specifically for Dulwich, and then one for like everything else in the module. So the surrounding environments, the Shunned Valley, the various little mini dungeons in the Shunned Valley, and then of course the Shadowed Keep and all the different levels. And I had it include like the maps from the PDF, so that I really don't even have to reference that the full module for most of this stuff, because it's like it's all kind of reproduced in this perfect GM reference, with everything converted to Shadow Dark for me. it's fantastic. And then I was like, well, fuck, why stop there? Because I started thinking about other things, and I was thinking about equipment, and I was thinking about like a shopping list for weapons and armor. Because I know the core rulebook for Shadow Dark is pretty slim on things to buy, but the Cursed Scroll supplements add various equipment and gear and things like that. And the Player's Companion by Chubby Funster adds a whole fuck ton of stuff. And I was like, it'd be nice to have like a unified list that had all this stuff combined into one. It was like, well, fuck, just have Claude do it. So not only did it make a unified list, it also again made like this fully interactive website, like HTML file with different tabs for weapon, armor, gear, traps, spell catalysts. And I can sort it by alphabetical. I can sort it by price. It has a search in it, so I can just search for anything. Clicking on any item brings up a description of it, with its specific effects for various adventuring gear and things like that. And yeah, it's fantastic. It's incredibly useful. So I love this. Like for spell catalysts, I can just type in search if I want to. What's the catalyst for Dimension Door? Boom, Hyssop, and that costs 78 gold. Done. And then I can click on it and tells me if held while casting Dimension Door, it's consumed and allows you to teleport one additional creature. Done. Fantastic resource. And then I was thinking, well, what else can I have it do? Oh, there's the encounter activity tables. And if you watch some of my more recent solo RPG stuff, you may have seen these OSE encounter activity tables that D4 Caltrops put together, where it's every creature from the OSE rulebook, and they each have their own D100 encounter activity table. So when you roll when you roll a random encounter for some Cyclops, you can roll on this table to see what they're doing when the players encounter them. And you roll a D100, and it might be, they're burying a toad beneath each grapevine to fight blight. And so previously I had gone through a painstaking effort of, because he doesn't have them all unified in one document, which would be really nice. I'd pay money for that if he had done it. So instead he had them each on a separate page on his website. So I went through each page and I downloaded each table as like a separate PDF file, and I had it all organized here in my folder. But they're all individual PDFs. So I have to open the wolf one, I have to open the vampire one, I have to open the treant one, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it'd be nice if this was all just unified into one thing. And it was like pretty and searchable and all that. And so Claude did that. I have just this alphabetical list that I can search through. It also included, I can just press R to pick a random table. Well, that's pretty nice. And then once I click on it, it shows all the options, but it also included a dice roller built in. So there's like, okay, here's the table for dryads, D100. I can just click roll D100 and it'll pick a random one for me. The dryads are gathering gnomes for an ambitious transplanting project. And it's just like, this is fucking fantastic. Like this is the use case for AI as far as I'm concerned, like it's hard to beat the organizational capabilities of something like this. The organizational capabilities, but also like the flexibility. Like if I wanted to change or add or remove anything to this whole HTML file, this organization, I can just tell it in like normal language, normal English language, like a dummy would say, and it will understand and implement it, and that's just like, that's the fucking future, that's like what you sort of dreamt about years ago of being able to do, of just having like an AI assistant kind of thing. The problem is a lot of people are using AI for much shittier, worse, more useless whatever, asking it what they should have for dinner tonight and things like that, or having it write stuff for them, or having it make videos and lauding it as oh, this movie is gonna take over Hollywood. And it's just like, fuck. Just use it as an assistant tool for organization. That's all it's good for. And that's what I've found is best, is just like giving it specific, like factual information, like documents or whatever, that I can just like double check and cross check and make sure that it's I don't want it to have any imagination really in the process. I don't want it to have any creativity in the process. I mean, yes, it like made decisions here when I told it to make this about like color schemes and all that, but and it included like the dice roller without me even prompting it, but it's like, okay, well, that's a good idea. That was handy. But like, I'm not sitting here and saying, hey, please come up with 100 activities if I encounter a carcass crawler. It's like, no, fuck that. Leave that to the people that are actually creative and interesting and actually people. Do not trust the AI to do that well. Anyways, this is a long tangent. So yeah, we're gonna do Shadowdark. We're gonna do Shadowkeep on the Borderlands. It's gonna start not this week. This week we're missing a player, so we're just gonna do a one shot, and I'm gonna do what is it called? The Sinister Secret of White Rock, which I did do on a solo video. I don't know which campaign. It was one of like the generic hex crawls or something. Maybe it was, I think, another homebrew hex crawl for Tales of Ragosa. I think we did it. But yeah, it should be good. All right. Anyways, that's enough yapping. So more Dominions, more Resident Evil Requiem, the end of Enderall, and the start of some Rimworld. And over on the Exploring series, uncontained SCPs. But for now, my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks next week.